Hi, this is Greg, and I'll be reading you excerpts from this week's Mashpee Enterprise, dated Friday, October 18, 2024. We'll start with the weekend weather. Saturday, sunny skies, high of 64 degrees, a low of 46. Sunday, sunny skies, a high of 66, a low of 50. Get out there and enjoy that beautiful weather. Now moving on to the front page stories, CONCOM continues working on Regulation 25. This story is by Lauren Serby. The Conservation Commission provided an update regarding Regulation 25 at its meeting last Thursday, October 10. CONCOM's bylaw review subcommittee is still in the works of drafting a new Regulation 25, which was last updated in 2005. We provided the Beals and Thomas Consulting report on Rule 25. We hope that provides value to the Commission and your process going through in the rulemaking, Pompanesett Beach Association President Tim Gilday said to the Commission. If you have any questions or you want to speak to that group, we can arrange that. They can come in and meet at your convenience. Regulation 25 governs land subject to coastal storm flow. The Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, or MassDEP, established that Regulation 25 forbids the expansion of impervious structures footprint on previously developed properties in the 100-year floodplain. Pompanesett residents voiced their concerns about the matter in June, saying that they are worried about the limitations this updated regulation covers. Residents want to retire in the area, but are concerned they cannot because of the regulation. If you could provide us just a summary of where you're at in the process, that would be very helpful for us, Mr. Gilday said. Chair of the Commission, Paul D. Colombo, said that the Bylaw Review Subcommittee has not met to discuss the regulation. The place we're at with reviewing the Commissioner's concerns is where we left off at that last subcommittee meeting, Mr. Colombo said. We completed all the concerns that Vice Chair Steve Cook had put in because he met with that association for a couple of hours and had not only his own concerns, but their concerns all listed. The Commission plans on reviewing all concerns from Pompanesett Beach Association and from the board members after meeting with the subcommittee. In any event, we still have homework to do, Mr. Colombo said last Thursday, October 10. We're going to have to schedule another meeting soon with the subcommittee. CONCOM draft revises trail cameras and tribe co-stewardship language. This story is by Lauren Serby. The Mashpee Conservation Commission unanimously approved of the final draft for recent trail camera revisions and co-stewardship with the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe last week. The topics were addressed at the Commission's meeting on October 10. Both issues are addressed under Regulation 1 of Chapter 173, the Commission's general references and provisions regarding conservation land. A file of this proposed language was sent to all the commissioners. We discussed this a little bit at our last meeting, and we requested the agent, Daniel Kent, to send that final draft out, said Chairman Paul D. Colombo. It has been sent out. The regulation presents an updated list of what personal items are prohibited from conservation land. Trail cameras are allowed throughout Mashpee trails as long as they are 700 feet from the walking trails. Residents must request permission to have trail cameras on town conservation land by completing a form and presenting it to the Commission. I think the language is great, said Commissioner Sarah Thornbrew last Thursday evening. "Thank you for your work on it." The final draft of Regulation 1 of Chapter 173 also includes incorporating a co-stewardship with the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. After many discussions on cultural respect easements and public comments from Tribal Chief Earl Mills Jr. and Tribal Council Chairman Brian Whedon, the language is officially in its final stages. The Commission's Bylaw Review Subcommittee reviewed and made edits to the draft, sending a final draft to the Commission. It will then go through legal counsel, pending approval. Concerns regarding both issues covered under Regulation 1 were voiced to the Commission in August, after there were allegedly threats of litigation from a resident after their trail camera was taken down. Ms. Thornbrew asked to incorporate language approving of a co-stewardship with the tribe in the same regulation. The Commission's next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 24 at 6:30 p.m. While previous meetings have been held at 6 p.m., all future meetings will be at 6:30 p.m. MIDC reviews work with school committee. This story is by Lauren Serbe. Mashpee's Inclusion and Diversity Committee, or MIDC, reviewed their participation at last month's school committee meeting, and it was below par. It was not very enjoyable, Chairwoman J. Marie Stevenson said to the committee on Tuesday evening. It was very frustrating, I'll be honest with you. In July, the school committee asked MIDC for help and support in creating a new article for the town in hopes of finding a way to address the school's bullying policy and recent issues to the Mashpee community. In August, the chairman of the school committee, Don Myers, and Ms. Stevenson presented the proposed article to the Select Board. The Select Board unanimously agreed that the article needs to be further developed, questioning the article's purpose. I went prepared with the actual article to discuss the article itself. Immediately I was asked to explain the purpose of our committee and what we have done in our time. I was unprepared for that, Ms. Stevenson reported to MIDC. It begs the question, why are they asking me that now? That should have been done ahead of time, before they proposed the article. Ms. Stevenson said that the school committee later emailed her after the meeting apologizing for the way they treated her during the meeting. The problem is the interaction, I think. It seems like we're running in circles, said MIDC member Mohammed Fad. You presented to them a simple fact, and they're asking you who you are, and it's becoming a kid's game. MIDC member Dan Kupferman recommended inviting the school committee to a diversity meeting to learn what they do and discuss. They could come and attend our meeting since they don't seem to know much about us, Mr. Kupferman said. That would be a good starting point. Ms. Stevenson also learned, after attending the school committee meeting, that the school committee expected all 9 of the MIDC members to be there. I was not informed of this, she said. When Mr. Kupferman questioned what MIDC's role is in the proposed article, MIDC member Gail Wilson agreed that she was confused too. It just feels so separate, Ms. Wilson said. I don't want any conflict here, Ms. Stevenson said to the committee. I went out of my way to go to this presentation on bullying. 4 of the 5 school committee members were there. I greeted them in a very friendly way. She said that very few people attended the meeting, which was intended to include a presentation on bullying for parents. Ms. Stevenson added that although the meeting didn't go as planned, it did feel like the school committee appreciated MIDC's presence. "It's all about building relationships," Ms. Stevenson said. "We're just giving our input and communicating. I'll follow up and say, okay, how do you want to proceed?" After primary recount, McRae files lawsuit against several towns. This story is by Jamie Perkins. Carrie D. McRae, a Bourne resident and Republican state Senate hopeful, announced this week that she has filed lawsuits against several towns in the Plymouth and Barnstable district for allegedly mishandling of ballots in September's primary election. Ms. McRae announced the suit, which was filed on October 10, in a statement released on Sunday, October 13. One lawsuit, filed in Barnstable County, names the towns of Bourne, Falmouth, Mashpee, and Sandwich. The other, in Plymouth County, names the towns of Plymouth and Plimpton. Ms. McRae requested a recount after the initial primary election results from September 3 concluded that she had lost to her opponent, Plymouth resident Matthew J. Muratori, by just 48 votes. The recount resulted in a smaller margin, 39 votes, but still declared Mr. Muratori the victor. According to court documents, Ms. McRae filed an ex parte motion for expedited de novo review in Barnstable Superior Court on October 10, essentially seeking immediate review of the complaints filed de novo, or from the beginning, without reference to any previous legal conclusions, a motion typically filed in emergencies. On October 11, Justice Mark C. Gilday of the Superior Court issued a ruling that denied the motion without prejudice, writing that ex parte motions must be served within 3 days of a ruling on a motion. The plaintiff waited 26 days after the Secretary of the Commonwealth declared the final recount results before filing an action, the ruling reads, referencing the September 14 declaration from Secretary of State William F. Galvin regarding the recount results. The plaintiff was aware of the action or inaction of which she now takes issue with even earlier. It is significant to the court that the complaint does not allege that the issue she now raises was brought to the attention of the registrars of voters during the recounts. Furthermore, there is no allegation that the plaintiff filed an action to challenge the results of the recount. Ms. McRae has remained steadfast in her claims of the mishandling of ballots since last month's primary. At least 5,000 ballots, more than 34% of all votes cast in the primary, were cast by voters using the Commonwealth's new early mail-in voting program, a news release from Ms. McRae states. And almost all of those ballots were accepted as valid ballots by town clerks throughout the district who failed to comply with Massachusetts election law. Simply put, the election administrators failed to complete the legally required signature comparison process for mail-in ballots. Because of the widespread systemic and unlawful irregularities in the primary election, I am asking the court to declare the election results invalid. According to the court's memorandum of decision and order, the court did not see evidence that this was an emergency situation given the chronology of events in the complaint. Town clerks in Bourne and Falmouth declined to comment on the lawsuit when reached for comment. Plimpton Town Clerk Tara Shaw also declined to comment on the matter, saying Town Council is handling it and she does not have any further information. Plymouth Communications Coordinator Casey Kennedy did not have a comment before time of publication, but said she would provide more information if any becomes available. The Sandwich town clerk was unavailable for comment. "I'm not sure where this is going, but we'll deal with it when we get there, I guess," Mashpee town clerk Deborah F. Kay said. Archives Open House, a journey through Mashpee's postal history. This story is by Amy Rothman. Community members were invited to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day at the Mashpee Archives Building on Monday, October 14. Attendees were able to take a trip back in time courtesy of the town's Historical Commission, which assembled a collection of more than 100 items commemorating Mashpee's history through present day. The collection featured a wide array of old copies of the Enterprise, a trove of photographs from Mashpee Public Schools, and the one-room schoolhouse, as well as memorabilia from Mashpee's sports teams. The main focus of the exhibit, though, was Mashpee's postal service. This year's open house theme highlighted the history of the post offices of Mashpee and the summer post office of Pomponesset, which operated from 1949 to 1976 as a seasonal post office to service the Pomponesset community. The U.S. Postal Service has been marked in Mashpee's history since 1871, when the town opened its first post office. The Mashpee Post Office loaned historical portraits and other items, such as menus from restaurants in town, including one from the Pomponesset Inn restaurant dating back to 1941. Also featured in the open house collection were archived items from the Hotel Adequin. The Hotel Adequin was home to Mashpee's first post office in 1871, where Solomon Adequin served as Mashpee's first postmaster. Richard DeSorger, commission member and schoolmaster of the one-room schoolhouse, explained how the commission worked with the post office to create a special focus for the open house. Many of the items in the open house collection were loaned to the commission by the Mashpee Post Office. Commission Chairwoman Ava M. Costello was on hand for the open house, warmly greeting guests, passing out information guides, and giving background on the collection. The commission also provided fall refreshments, including apple cider, an array of cookies, and an assortment of munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts. As guests meandered around the collection, they made comments on the similarities and differences of the past and present, and commented on how fast time can pass. Some guests even commented that they too have collections of archival items in their own homes, in boxes of old photographs and memorabilia kept in storage. Along the front wall of the archives building hung a framed collection of portraits of past and present postmasters. They are from all the way back to the current. He pointed out that many of the same family names, such as Coombs and Adequin, have appeared in the town's history for a long time, with several generations making strides to push Mashpee forward. If one pays attention to enough archives in town, they might begin to recognize the town's main historical characters. These families have made their mark on the town for nearly 200 years. Mr. DeSorger said, "It's great to have a town history like that." Although some of the archived items will make their way back to the post office, many will remain at the archives building on 13 Great Neck Road North. The archives are open on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. until December. And now moving on to page 2. Tree of Life screening set for October 27. A Tree of Life, the Pittsburgh Synagogue Shooting documentary about the 2018 synagogue shooting, will screen at Wacoyet Congregational Church as part of Movies That Matter series on Sunday, October 27 at 4 p.m. The film is a personal portrait of one of the deadliest anti-Semitic attacks in American history, chronicling the horror the congregation faced as well as its resilience. On Saturday, October 27, 2018, a white supremacist walked into the Tree of Life synagogue with 4 semi-automatic assault weapons, shouting, "All Jews must die." He murdered 11 worshippers ranging in age from 54 to 97. An intimate, trauma-informed portrait of the survivors, victims, and victims' family members, this documentary brings into sharp focus the hate-based crisis that threatens collective safety and America's social fabric. The film also demonstrates the healing power of community as the resilience of the congregation turns a tragic story into one of hope. Discussion after the film will be led by Rabbi Stephen Folberg of the Falmouth Jewish Congregation. The event is the second program in Movies That Matter, a new documentary screening and discussion series that aims to shine a spotlight on the role that faith and faith communities can play in exploring and responding to critical and often controversial concerns. The series is co-curated by the Reverend Nell Fields of the Wacoyet Church, the Reverend Fred Mead, and Julie Gustafson. This event is free and open to the public. Popcorn and cold drinks will be provided. Wacoyet Congregational Church is at 15 Parsons Lane, East Falmouth. Talk focuses on reclamation of Wampanoag language. Although not fluently spoken for more than 150 years, the Wampanoag language and its return to its people has marked a renewal of cultural knowledge and connection. Netanya Hicks Greendeer will discuss the story of loss and reclamation and the Wampanoag Nation's efforts to bring the language back to a principal means of communication for its people on Saturday, October 26 at 1 p.m. at UU Falmouth, 840 Sandwich Road, East Falmouth. The talk will be open to the public and free of charge. Dr. Greendeer is a member of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. She has worked for more than 20 years in tribal language and education. She is currently the head of the Witumu School, the tribe's culture-based Montessori school located in Mashpee. She is also the mother of 5 of the school's past and present students. Dr. Greendeer is a visiting professor in the American Studies and Critical Native American and Indigenous Studies Department at Brown University and is a member of the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribal Council. The event is a collaboration between Linking Indigenous and Non-Indigenous Knowledge, or LINK, and the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Falmouth. The talks are supported by the Fund for Science, the Falmouth Fund of the Cape Cod Foundation, and the Cape Cod Foundation. Net Zero Conference set for October 24. The Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative will hold its annual Net Zero Conference, Climate Actions for Everyone, Reducing Emissions, Building Resilience, on Thursday, October 24, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Cape Cod Irish Village, the Emerald Resort, 35 Scudder Avenue, in Hyannis. The conference will include discussions on achieving a net zero future and strengthening regional resilience to climate change impacts. The focus will be on providing actionable steps that participants can take to make a difference in the community. Panels with climate leaders will discuss strengthening coastal and community resilience, electrifying transportation on Cape Cod, addressing the twin crises of housing and climate, and identifying practical climate actions accessible to all. Hear from panelists directly involved in implementing solutions in our region. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren will provide a video welcome. This year's conference will be free to attend due to the generosity of organizational sponsor Barr Foundation and presenting sponsor Cape Light Compact, among others. Registration is required. Visit capecodclimate.org. Child Center Clothing Sale, October 19. On Saturday, October 19, the Woods Hole Child Center will host its 37th annual clothing sale at St. Barnabas Episcopal Church Hall opposite the Falmouth Village Green. Doors open at 9 a.m., and the sale ends with a Fill-A-Bag for $5 blitz from 1 to 3 p.m. Proceeds from the sale benefit the center, which is the oldest operating preschool in the area. The Woods Hole Child Center invites other local charitable organizations to make arrangements to gather needed items toward the end of the sale. Contact the Child Center at 508-548-1773 to prearrange a special pickup. K.C. Coombs students share passion for behavior program. This story is by Amy Rothman. Administrators and students from the Kenneth C. Coombs School gave a special presentation on the Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports, or PBIS, program to the school committee at its meeting on Wednesday. Principal Mary Kate O'Brien and Assistant Principal Brian Prina were joined by a panel of young students who shared their experience with this program. Thank you for inviting us tonight, and we have some pretty great rock stars here to share all about the Coombs School, Ms. O'Brien said. Mr. Prina kicked off this presentation with a short description of the program. KCCS is really passionate about making sure we all feel connected within our community, Mr. Prina said. Each of the students was holding on to a special item at this meeting. He told the board. That item was a falcon egg, a token given to students to recognize positive behavior inside the school. The falcon egg might look like a shiny coin, but the meaning behind it is much more valuable. When a student shows one of the behaviors that make up the Falcon 5, being safe, responsible, respectful, ready, and caring, the student earns a falcon egg from an adult in the school. By giving the student a token to represent the good behavior when it is observed, the school can work to mark the moment and reinforce the behavior. Mr. Prina explained that classrooms fill up their falcon nests, which are then added to the school's big falcon nest. Once the school's nest is filled, a school-wide celebration takes place as their school mascot, Thunder the Falcon, makes a special visit to help celebrate the good behavior. After the presentation, Ms. O'Brien shared data with the school committee to show how this program has helped reduce the amount of support that students need and can help make students more responsive to base-level supports while in school. Ms. O'Brien also explained how data from the PBIS program can be used to support programs such as the Falcon Egg program. She emphasized that this data shows the reason why the school does this program, and based on the changes the school has seen, can prove that the students are responding. After the presentation, students, school staff, and members of the school committee posed for a photograph in front of their school's nest. One student held up her class nest, proud of the work she and her fellow classmates have done. Well, folks, we're just past the halfway point of our reading today. And as regular listeners are aware, at this stage of the broadcast, we move to the obituaries. Our first obituary is Amy Lynn Campbell. Amy Lynn Garrison Campbell passed away on October 9, 2024, at Cape Cod Hospital. She was 42. Born at Falmouth Hospital on June 30th, 1982, Amy lived in Falmouth most of her life. She attended Falmouth schools and 4 Cs in Hyannis. Visiting hours will be held Thursday, October 24, 2024, from 10 to noon at Chapman Funerals and Cremations, 475 Main Street, Falmouth. Burial is private. The following residents, former residents or family of residents of Bourne, Falmouth, and Sandwich recently died. Visit capenews.net to read the complete obituary news stories. Phyllis I. Alberti, 92, of Sandwich, died on October 14. August G. Clow, 89, of West Falmouth, died on October 15. David A. Carivo, 57, of North Falmouth, died recently. Estacios Gregordarios, 76, of North Falmouth, died on October 11. Rose M. Hewitt, 87, of Pocasset, died on October 8. Frank C. Inzalico Sr., 81, of Bourne, died on October 11. Jean M. Lapis, 59, of Falmouth, died on October 10. Mary E. Lemieux, 83, of Sandwich, died on October 7. Barbara A. Newell, 76, of East Falmouth, died on October 15. Anne W. O'Connor, of North Falmouth, died on October 15. Edward F. Parker, 80, of Bourne, died on October 4. And John D. Silva, 75, of Falmouth, died on October 11. And now we move to the police logs. The following are excerpts from the Mashpee Police Department logs dated Thursday, October 10 through Wednesday, October 16. During this time frame, the department saw 291 calls for service, 45 motor vehicle stops, 2 arrests or criminal applications, 9 motor vehicle crashes, 1 domestic disturbance, 3 fraud calls, 24 alarms, and 6 EMS/fire department assist calls. Thursday, August 10, 4:20 p.m. Officers responded to Monomoskoye Road for a motor vehicle accident involving a school bus. The school bus was driving around a cul-de-sac and struck a parked landscape vehicle. No children were hurt in the minor accident. 9 students were on board at the time of the accident. Saturday, October 12, 1:20 p.m. A vehicle driving on Country Club Lane was struck on the windshield by a golf ball. 5:01 p.m. There were multiple calls over the past few days of gunshots on Lowell Road. The area is private property, and the owners shot over 500 feet away from any dwellings and has a proper backstop. Sunday, October 13, 9:42 a.m. A vehicle driving on Cotuit Road struck a turkey as it was in the roadway. The vehicle and the operator continued driving. No vehicle description was provided. Monday, October 14, 3:19 p.m. The department received multiple calls regarding construction debris being illegally dumped on the hiking trails off Meeting House Road. 11:51 p.m. Officer David Makowicz stopped a motor vehicle on Route 130. Mashpee resident Michael Zajowski, 44, received a criminal application for driving with a revoked license as an HTO. Tuesday, October 15, 7:57 p.m. Officer Nicholas Carpenter stopped a motor vehicle on Great Neck Road North. Hyannis resident Igor De Silva, 22, was arrested on a straight warrant from Barnstable District Court for driving without a license. And now the results from Falmouth District Court, Tuesday, September 24, arraignments. Douglas J. Myers, 18, Half Hitch Lane, Mashpee, vandalizing property, tagging property on August 2 in Mashpee. Pretrial hearing set for November 20, advised of potential of bail revocation, ordered to stay away from 2 Center Street and Noisy Hole Conservation Area, released on personal recognizance. Monday, October 7, disposition. Talia M. Landry, 32, Cape Drive, Mashpee. Operation of a motor vehicle with a suspended license on August 8 in Mashpee. Operation of a motor vehicle with a suspended license dismissed upon payment of $100 in court costs. Friday, October 11, arraignment. Eris S. Watley, 32, Main Street, Mashpee. Fugitive from justice on a court warrant on October 10 in Bourne. Status review set for October 22. Advised of potential of bail revocation. Held without bail. Tips for parents to prevent child sexual abuse. Raising a child comes with many responsibilities, among them the need to protect children from sexual abuse. Keeping them away from known sex offenders in your community is one step, but since most cases of sexual abuse are never reported, how do you know who is safe? An estimated 1/4 to 1/3 of sexual abuse incidents involve people in the immediate or extended family. Nearly 2/3 of those who abuse are people that you or your child know and trust through school, sports, and other community activities. Only a small percentage are strangers. In light of these facts, each week the enterprise will share a tip for parents that will help them keep their children safe from sexual abuse by adults or other children and youths. These tips are shared by Enough Abuse, a citizen education and community engagement initiative organized in 2002 to prevent child sexual abuse in Massachusetts, homes, schools, and communities. Tip number 4. Increase supervision and reduce one-on-one situations between a child and another adult. As shared previously, most incidents of child sexual abuse are committed by someone that the child or family know and trust. Strangers are abusers in less than 10% of child sexual abuse cases. 2/3 of cases involve a non-related adult who has access to the child through a school or youth organization. The vast majority of sexual abuse occurs when a child or teen and an adult are alone. One of the ways you can significantly increase your child's safety is to increase supervision and choose group activities rather than one child/one adult situations. However, since many children benefit from and want to participate in private lessons or mentoring programs where one-on-one relationships are key, for example, music lessons, tutoring, sports coaching, big brothers, big sisters, etc., there are ways you can increase safety in those situations. When you enroll your child in these programs, be sure to approach the instructors or mentors confidently and tell them you want to reduce your child's risk of sexual abuse, just as you know they do. Ask what their policies are around leaving doors open during lessons and allowing parents to observe or drop in. Let them know you are an informed and vigilant parent. Encourage your child to tell you if they have concerns about any interactions with any adults or children that make them uncomfortable or confused. Herring restoration ramps up across Cape Cod. This story is by Theo Wolf. Towns, state agencies, volunteers, and the Barnstable County Extension Service are working to restore populations of small, silvery fish that lead complex lives and are crucial to the Cape's ecosystem. Specifically, the efforts across the Cape focus on building back the depleted river herring and the herring runs they use for travel, a county aquaculture specialist told the County Commission last week. Pretty much all of our commercially and recreationally important fish species eat the river herring, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Abigail Archer, fisheries and aquaculture specialist at the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension Service, told the county commissioners at their meeting on October 9. Restoring our herring runs is about more than just the herring. It's about feeding the ocean and sustaining the entire ecosystem, she said. Ms. Archer, whose update on Cape Cod's herring restoration did not offer specific plans, said declining herring populations have galvanized several towns, volunteer herring wardens, and state agencies such as the State Division of Marine Fisheries, or DMF, and the Cooperative Extension Service's Southeastern Massachusetts Aquaculture Center to launch restoration projects. Ms. Archer praised the herring wardens of the Wampanoag tribe and those who work for towns on and off the Cape for their annual work in regulating harvests, enforcing regulations, and overseeing the passage of adult fish from the ocean to fresh water, and the juveniles from fresh water to the ocean. The wardens have been working closely with the DMF on restoration of culverts, she said. Massachusetts and Maine are the only states that still have herring wardens, she said, and 13 of the 15 Cape towns have wardens, some of whom are elected and some of whom are volunteers. Ms. Archer said that the Cooperative Extension's primary involvement is to support the herring wardens. To travel between bodies of water, the fish use herring runs and herring ladders, some of which have deteriorated or become filled with sediment. River herring, also known as alewives and blueback herring, are migratory fish that range along the east coast from Florida to Maine, according to information supplied to the county commissioners by Ms. Archer. Herring spend most of their life cycle in the ocean environment, returning every 4 to 5 years to their rivers of origin to spawn. Juvenile river herring typically migrate back to the salty marine environment in the fall. Once out of the river, they may use the estuary for extended periods before migrating in the open ocean. Historically, river herring populations reached into hundreds of millions. Returning to coastal rivers every spring, these fish supported some of the oldest fisheries in the United States. River herring serve as prey for major recreational and commercial species such as cod, haddock, and striped bass. The Association to Preserve Cape Cod, an environmental organization, is also working to restore river herring numbers. River herring populations have been declining in the mid-Atlantic and northeast coastal regions for several decades, particularly from the late 90s on, the APCC says on its website. Because of their decline from 2005, there has been a moratorium on taking or catching any river herring. In 2011, a petition to list them as endangered was submitted to the National Marine Fisheries Service. The APCC said the herring decline is symptomatic of environmental problems that are impacting other fish, wildlife, and whole ecosystems. The APCC's list of reasons for the decline include barriers to fish passage, water withdrawals and diversion, loss of habitat, and water pollution. Also, poaching, overfishing, and bycatch at sea. Climate change and the resulting changes in precipitation, seasonality, and water temperature might impact future generations of herring, the APCC has said. Federal agencies are also working on herring restoration. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, says on its website that it is already working on the problem. A rebuilding plan to rebuild the stock to the target population level is in place with a target date of 2026, the website says. In response to declining herring populations, communities have launched restoration projects and suspended herring harvesting for many years. Ms. Archer said she would come back to a future county commission meeting with more details. In a related matter, the county commissioners approved a $56,000 grant from the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources to the Cooperative Extension's Aquaculture Center to help fund shellfish disease monitoring, water quality testing, and research into emerging species like kelp and surf clams, Ms. Archer said. Fall Fest was a great success. This story is by Amy Rothman. Thousands of guests from all over the Cape flooded the streets of the Mashpee Commons over the weekend. On Saturday, October 12, the Mashpee Commons locked in their fall spirit for a special day-long Fall Fest to celebrate the season in style. Kristen Kelleher confirmed that thousands of people attended this event, which absolutely increased foot traffic at the Commons. The event brought thousands of people to the Commons for one of our busiest days of the year, she said. Compared to other years, Kelleher calls this year's Fall Fest a success. It was a really nice day, which always helps the event to be a success, she said. Last year, poor weather caused a slight decrease in attendance, Kelleher said. In 2023, the annual Fall Fest event fell on a rainy day, so we had to move all activities indoors, she said. The cool temperatures and warm sunshine on Saturday worked to attract a crowd even larger than in years past. In fact, the event was so popular that the Commons had to close a roadway to accommodate for the extra foot traffic and make traveling around the Commons easier for guests. The event is so well attended that we closed down Steeple Street to vehicles between the Black Dog and Panera Bread to allow room for the activities and ensure safety of all our guests, Ms. Kelleher said. Food, crafts, and vendor tables were scattered amongst the Commons, along with activities sponsored by town organizations such as the Touch a Truck activity, which was sponsored by the Mashpee Fire Department. According to Ms. Kelleher, this activity attracted a very large crowd. She said that the children who attend seem to appreciate the firefighters who so graciously lend their time and bring their trucks to the Commons every year during Fall Fest to allow kids to sit in the fire trucks and learn about what the fire department does. However, the most popular activity is the pumpkin painting, Ms. Kelleher said. We brought in over 2,000 sugar pumpkins from Hyannis Country Garden for the activity, she said. The pumpkin painting was facilitated by National Honors Arts Society with Mashpee Public School, so we had local art students, the kids painting their pumpkins for the season, Ms. Kelleher continued. In addition, the Mashpee Commons also worked with local community partners such as Seaside Le Mans, Fresh Roll Food Truck, and Steeple Street Music for this year's Fall Fest. We love working with our local nonprofits such as Seaside Le Mans to spread awareness of their organization and providing opportunities to our merchants like Steeple Street Music and Fresh Roll to move out of their footprint for the day, Ms. Kelleher ended. Coming up, the Mashpee Commons invites the community to continue the fall celebration. The Commons invites the community to their next event on October 26 for a Halloween trick-or-treat extravaganza, beginning at 11 a.m. MIDC searches for column writers. This story is by Lauren Survey. Mashpee's Inclusion and Diversity Committee, or MIDC, is on the lookout for new column writers to replace member Dan Kupferman, whose last column will appear in the Enterprise this month. Dan has decided to retire from writing the column, said Chairwoman J. Marie Stevenson during Tuesday's meeting. His last story will review his time covering the Inclusion and Diversity Committee in the Mashpee Enterprise. I think we have to have a system if we're going to continue it, and if we want to continue it, Ms. Stevenson said to the committee. This has been a real valuable piece of what we've done. Mr. Kupferman said that member Mohammed Fad and Historical Commission member Richard DeSorga have expressed an interest in writing for the column occasionally. Mashpee residents Richard Donovan and Teresa Donovan voiced that they want to periodically write for the column. Mr. Kupferman recommended asking the student representatives if they'd be willing to participate. Mashpee resident Marie Blackburn also said she would write occasionally. I can go out and look for people who would write, but I need some people to help out with that, said Ms. Stevenson. She added that she can write for the column once in a while as well, but she would need help from the committee and from the community. I've been writing longer than I was supposed to originally, Mr. Kupferman said. I would say 600 and 800 words is what I started with, and it progressively got longer. The column is a monthly piece in the Mashpee Enterprise. Ms. Stevenson said that nothing is set in stone, however, and if they need to adjust how often the column is published, they will do so accordingly. Mr. Kupferman's final column is in this week's edition. Those who are interested in participating can reach out to MIDC at mashpeeidc@gmail.com. Boating Safety Course set for October 26. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 11-2 Woods Hole is offering the Boat America Boating Safety Course at the Woods Hole Library on Saturday, October 26. This one-day class starts at 8 a.m. and should complete by 4:30 p.m. This 8-hour beginner boating class will give students the basic knowledge needed to obtain a federal boat safety certificate and certification in Massachusetts required for youth's 12 to 16 years old for motorboats and 16 to 18 years old for personal watercraft. Topics include an introduction to boat types, boating law, boat safety equipment, navigation, and more. The cost is $25. Contact Stephen Wagner at 774-392-6193 for more information. Lecture to cover bizarre events in war. The Cape Cod Military Museum will present a photo lecture about bizarre and eerie events in war at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 26, at Wacoyet Congregational Church's Parish Hall. The talk will include some of the surreal and supernatural occurrences during wartime, and 3 of the tales are local and feature a ghost, a reincarnation, and bears. All the stories have been researched and are actual, no myths or hoaxes. The event is free, and free will donations are accepted. For more information, visit CapeCodMilitaryMuseum.org or contact Joe Yukna at joeyukna@gmail.com. Climate Change Talk at Vets Center. The Falmouth Community Veterans Center will host an informal conversation about climate change on Thursday, October 24. The talk will begin at 5 p.m. at the Veterans Center located at 300 Dillingham Avenue. The presenter will be Max Holmes, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Woodwell Climate Research Center. The event is free to the public. Light refreshments will be served. And here's your recycling tip of the week. Aluminum foil? Yes. Aluminum foil is recyclable, but food residue should be mostly removed. Don't compress the foil too much because if it's too small, it might fall through sorting equipment as trash. Tennis ball sized is a good size for foil. Anything smaller than about the size of a credit card will not be recycled. And now for next week's meetings. Monday, October 21. Early voting, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the Wacoyet Meeting Room. Joint Select Board and Finance Committee meeting, 6 p.m. Paul A. Funk Careers Learning Center, 500 Old Barnstable Road. Annual Town Meeting, 7 p.m. Mashpee Middle High School, 500 Old Barnstable Road. Tuesday, October 22, early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Wacoyet Meeting Room. Mashpee Wakeby Lake Management, 7 p.m. in the Jehu Meeting Room. Wednesday, October 23, early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Wacoyet Meeting Room. Joint School Committee meeting with Tribal Council at 5:30 p.m. Mashpee Wampanoag Government Center, 483 Great Neck Road South. Thursday, October 24, early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Wacoyet Meeting Room. Conservation Commission, 6:30 p.m. in the Public Library at 64 Steeple Street. Friday, October 25, early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Wacoyet Meeting Room. Saturday, October 26, last day to register for the November 5 election in the Town Clerk's office, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Early voting, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in the Wacoyet Meeting Room. Well, folks, I've reached the end of my time for today. This is Greg, your reader, saying thanks for listening. I hope you have a great week. Be safe out there, and bye for now.